Hi, I'm Christine Daigle.
I'm Jena Brown.
I'm Kevin Tumlinson.
And I'm JD Barker. Welcome to Writers Inc. So I was in DC last week, which we talked about, or over the weekend. I came home and my wife and daughter decorated for Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
It's
It's like,
August.
yeah, it's August. Apparently the local Halloween store, Spirit Halloween, opened up, so they went and raided that place and came home. And we've got a window in our kitchen that they decorate for like every season. So spring window, winter. So they took that apart and just decided to jump right to fall and Halloween. Then did the porch out front, and like there's spider webs all over my house and all that kind of fun stuff.
Perfect. You know,
I got in on it too. I went out and I bought a maze. It's like an inflatable maze. Like I didn't even think this thing existed. I just went on Amazon and just typed in like maze for Halloween just to see what would come up.
Yeah.
It's inflatable. It's 30 feet by 20 feet, so it's pretty big.
wow.
And it'll basically take up most of my driveway. So I'm going to make the kids work for their candy this year.
That's
They're going to have to
fun.
get through the maze in order to
That's
get to the
pretty
candy.
cool.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really cool. Listen, Halloween
It's six.
is not a holiday. It's a state of mind. Like I fully support decorating right now.
I'm totally fine with it. Oh, and guess what she picked for a costume? She came home with a Freddy glove.
Well, I was
Oh,
gonna say she
Oh.
likes the scary
Yay.
stuff, so I was
Yeah,
trying
apparently
trying to guess.
Freddie is making some kind of comeback. I mean, she's 8. She's got no idea who Freddie is from, back in the day, but I guess the
Yeah.
little scary spooky glove just jumped out at her.
I'm
nice.
going as sexy nurse.
You would.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
done that every year, though, Kevin. I
Every
think it's
year.
time to.
Yeah.
It was
Shake
it's
things
the
up a bit.
role I was born for.
I've got the wrong healthcare program. I don't have any of those.
Yeah. What is it? I'm going as a homicidal maniac. They look just like everybody else. That's a Wednesday
Yeah.
Addams quote. So
Perfect.
That's
I'm
perfect.
going as someone in the witness protection program.
perfect.
All right, Kevin, what do you have in the news?
Well, first up, former bookseller launches book event platform. Former Chicago bookseller Rebecca George has launched Lit Circle, a free platform designed to help readers discover author readings, signings, book clubs, festivals, and other literary events happening near them. It's currently being tested in Chicago and Philadelphia with a national rollout planned. George hopes Lit Circle can become the book industry's version of Bands in Town, solving a growing problem for bookstores. Social media algorithms and the decline of local newspaper book coverage have made it harder to reach people who might actually attend events. Lit Circle is deliberately excluding corporate bookstore chains such as Barnes and Noble, with George arguing that they already have large online systems for reaching customers.
It seems like
Philadelphia is only a few hours from me. I could go
yeah.
try this out.
Isn't there was another one that came out that was like was it NetGalley's version of Edelweiss or it was I'm trying to think we
Yeah.
talked about it before.
Yeah.
Ingram had
Book.
one.
What is it? It was like book. Oh, two. No, that's a
Booktrovert? No,
maybe.
maybe.
That's close.
Introvert.
I think it was
I
something
think
like
it's
that.
Booktrovert. Yeah, so but this one is more like not just arcs, events and
Hmm.
things like that as well, signings.
That feels
Mhm.
like a very crowded space, or at least a space that's already defined. Like everybody already knows what they're using. Like I use NetGalley all the time. So
Yeah.
and like the people that I work with all use it. So like go into something else. That's kind of a tricky ask to get people to switch from a platform that's already working.
Well, they were saying they can already sign up for it with their account. I forget what account it was that you just said it. But they already have it, I guess, the librarians and booksellers. So it's just maybe a one click, maybe it'd be good. I
Hmm.
often miss events that I don't know about, so you
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, there's
I
a
wouldn't
lot.
mind.
It's hard to get like figure out like what events are going on at bookstores unless you like subscribe to individual things, and even then there needs to be an easier way of like figuring that out or having like some kind of maybe I don't know, bookstores, even Barnes and Noble isn't that great at like letting people know when authors are coming for a signing. So like if you
Yeah.
don't follow the author or like have specifically like checking in on things, it's not the easiest to find.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How
and
does
there's
how does
nothing
Barnes and
sadder
Noble?
than that person sitting in Barnes and Noble with a table full of books and nobody stopping to talk to them.
Yeah, that's like
That's
the last
sad.
piece of their puzzle. Like they fixed everything else in the store, but they've never been able to get that right. Like whenever
Yeah,
I go, I feel like I have to supply the crowd. Like there's not going to be anybody there if I rely on them.
I think
yeah.
that's
And
true.
and
I
like,
think
does Barnes? Do they have like a local? Like, can you get an email from your local Barnes and Noble store?
I don't
I know I
know.
don't
I
get
don't.
one. I'm just wondering if
Uh,
they exist.
yes. Yes, you can. And it
Okay.
does include, if there's going to be like a local author signing or something like that, they do include that. So I
I
don't
don't
guess
Oh,
it
know.
gets
I
that
feel
much
like
traction.
I've tried to subscribe and it's just not been that successful. Like they'll advertise some bigger authors, but not necessarily smaller ones. But I don't know.
Hmm.
And then some Barnes and Nobles have their own social media. Like they just create their own social media, but I don't think all of them do. So,
Yeah.
and I just
I know
realized that I'm getting
that
this
that's
mixed up with our next news article. So when I was talking about Tess and Fly
you,
at all, you're
you've
like,
got
what are you guys
vacation
talking
brain.
about? I do
You're,
have vacation
I
brain.
was kind of
yeah, so
wondering, but
You're like, what? And I'm like, you know what?
hey, look,
I just
you're
went
being
with
I
it.
read
efficient.
two
We knocked
articles
out
and
some of
I'm
the
just
conversation early.
merging them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Well,
Hey,
since you brought it up,
Yeah.
the article to which she is referring, Ingram's covered launches for booksellers and librarians. Ingram Content Group has officially launched Covered, a new platform where booksellers, librarians, and other publishing professionals can access digital catalogs and review copies. Ingram is positioning it as a lower cost competitor to Edelweiss and NetGalley, which is why those came up. Now I'm less confused.
And now you're
To
less
launch
confused. I
starts
was confused.
The launch starts with digital review copies from roughly 200 publishers. Booksellers and librarians can read and review titles, while publishers receive analytics such as reading time expected to be added soon. Ingram has a potentially huge built-in audience. About 50,000 booksellers and librarians already use its iPage ordering system and can activate Covered with their existing accounts. Ingram is making Covered exclusively for publishing professionals, no general readers or influencers. Influencer reviews will eventually be handled separately through its Bookfinity platform. Bookfinity platform. So we already
This
know
isn't what
how
I was
Christine
talking
feels about
about.
all this.
I
2 minutes
chimed in
ago.
right behind Christine, thinking this is what we were actually talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay. We're all good. We're all confused. It's fine.
I just
I mean,
sat
there's
here
similar
staring
things.
dumbly at this.
One is a new platform for events and author signings, and one is for ARCs. It's easy to
Got
get
it.
confused. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, Alex, just take my comments from the earlier one and cut and paste right here,
Yeah.
and
Me
I'm all done
too.
for the
Thank
day.
you. Make me look smart.
No.
I'm
All
not
right.
confused.
Don't make them look smart at all, Alex. Just leave it as is. Well, since we've already talked about both those, let's move on to the third story. Sourcebooks, the number one romance publisher in the country, drives the category forward with major new initiatives and investment. Sourcebooks says it now controls about 24% of the U.S. adult romance market and is responding by making a major new investment in romance publishing. Sourcebooks is also putting more into audio and reader data, using its scale to better understand what romance readers are responding to and move more quickly on new opportunities. The company says romance is now tied as the second highest selling genre in audio. Sourcebooks is talking about authors as brands rather than just book by book acquisitions, which suggests romance publishing is becoming more like franchise building than traditional one title at a time publishing. That part is very interesting to me. I'd actually
Hmm.
like to see more of that in the industry.
Well, I
yeah.
feel like there used to be a time when romance authors were more franchisey. And I don't know, did that like Danielle Steele for sure.
No, I think that's more or less true, and
And
especially
I
then
think it was across the board, right? Like they were
yeah,
treating all these authors as brands, and that kind of went away over the last 15 years or so.
yeah.
Like
yeah,
I've been personally creating a brand and following that old model because I do everything that worked in the 90s at this point.
yeah,
But I think they've stepped away from it, and it's mainly because the publishers have changed the deals. They used to give out 5, 6, 7 book deals, and now they're leaning more towards
Hmm.
1 and 2 book deals. So they're just not vested in the authors as much as they need to be in order to build a brand.
yeah.
Sourcebooks, though, to me, like I really want to see like a Netflix documentary on Sourcebooks, from the early years till now, because like everything that they're doing seems to be very dialed in, and like they are growing at a very rapid pace when some of these other guys are out there just trying to keep from having to lay
Yeah.
people off.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they knocked Macmillan off the one of the top spots and
They
took
sure
their
did.
place. So that's pretty huge. Uh,
Well, they're doing more than just romance too. Like their
Yeah.
Poisoned Press imprint, like with thrillers and horror, has really taken off, and they do a lot of innovative, aggressive marketing for it too, which I know, shocker, marketing helps sell books. Who would have thought?
I honestly don't believe any stat that Kevin says, but if 24% of the romance industry is actually a real stat, that's ridiculous. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to take mild offense at that and just let it pass.
I know you're just
Oh,
reading stats Kristen put in front of us.
100% of Kevin on this call is a little irritated at that comment.
Oh, come on, Kevin.
oh gosh. I guess with that, go ahead, Jenna. Oh, I was gonna say, JD, who's up this week?
This week we've got JT Ellison coming back. JT is the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of more than 30 suspense novels. She also publishes The Creative Edge. It's a very helpful newsletter for authors. She's back with her latest novel, You Know Why, a domestic thriller, which releases on August 25th. Here she is, JT Ellison.
Welcome back to the show.
Hi, it's so good to see you.
I know it is always so fun to talk to you. And you're back with a new novel.
Yes,
You know
yes.
why.
You know why. Look at this pretty gorgeous purple beast.
Yes,
I love
it
this
is.
cover. I'm in love with this cover. It was the first one they sent me, and I said, "That's it. Don't do anything to it. It's perfect."
You know what I really love about it too? I know we only use the audio, so everyone's gonna have to like, get really curious about this part and go to Amazon and look at what it is. But one of my favorite things about that cover is it doesn't give anything away, but as soon as you read the book, you know exactly what it is. You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought they did a great job. I'm in love with it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just dive right in. You obviously like, you haven't always had instant hits with liking the cover first time, but you have had an impressive career. Uh what, over 35 books now?
30, I finished number 35 yesterday.
Yeah, so that is quite impressive. You run your own press, you co-host an interview show, you're active on social media. And somehow you put out a weekly Substack that never feels like regurgitated material. What is your secret?
Panic. I run on panic. I mean, I
Hmm.
run on panic. I don't want to get bored, right?
Right.
I would love to be the person that could do just the one thing, right? Just focus on writing the books. And I try that, right? I try it all the time, and then I end up on these side quests. And it's like, all right, apparently I'm supposed to have side quests. The blog, the Creative Edge on Substack, that is me processing my life, right? It's kind of my journal. It's a public journal, but it is kind of me processing the things that I've gone through that week and where I stand in my writing life and what's going on in the yard. I got some cardinals
Yeah.
that I like to share stories about and what I'm reading. And half of it's what I'm buying to read. I told my
Hmm.
husband yesterday, I'm like, it's really sad. I'm never going to be able to read all the books that I want to read in my life.
Oh, I
It's just never going to
know.
happen.
It seems so tragically unfair.
It is tragically unfair. I mean, there's just so many incredible books that I want to read and so much incredible art I want to consume, and I can't. It just
Yeah.
won't, it's just a physical impossibility of time. And, so maybe I should spend a little more time reading and a little less time on side quests.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like, I mean, they do feel like side quests, but to me, like, it feels like everything that you're doing is like very, I mean, it's not like your interview show is like a cooking show and like your
Sure, sure. No,
Substack
it's
is
all
about music.
it all is in the same braid. It's all part of the same braid for sure.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't, I mean, you can only write, this, you can only write so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
I did a 10K day with some friends a couple of weeks ago, And it took me 11 and a half hours to write 10,000 words.
Oh
I can't do that
man.
every day. My body won't let me do that every day. I had bruises on my arms for a week. I was tired. My arms hurt, my legs hurt. You just can't do that every day.
Yeah.
And, so having other things to take up the rest of that space, you write for 4 hours but there's still 20 hours left in the day,
Yeah.
right?
A 10K challenge. Let's hear that story.
So we do that every once in a while. A couple of friends of mine do it, and then I've got a group that we kind of got together before the pandemic. They would come and hang out on my porch, and so
Hmm.
we call it the porch. Um, but after the pandemic, we had to do it by Zoom, and then we were able to bring in a couple of people who weren't in physical proximity.
Hmm.
And so we get together like quarterly just to check on each other and see how our work is doing. And, we blurb each other's books and we'll read each other's books if we need help and that kind of stuff. Um, One of them was saying there's no way to do it. There's no way to have a 10K day. And I said, au contraire, mon frère. Of course there is. And so I gave them the outline of how to do it. There's a blog post out there about how to do it. And of course, the author's name just went out of my head. I'm very sorry. I'll come up with it. But it's basically you have to plan, right? You have to
Right.
plan out. You can't just run by the seat of your pants. So one of our people was actually starting a book and she was trying to figure out how to do it. And I said, don't even try to write 10,000 words on a new book.
Hmm.
Do your outline your book. Try to
Hmm.
work on scenes. So she got 50 scenes. One of them who's
Wow.
never written more than 500 words in a day wrote 5,000 words. Yeah.
Wow.
So it kind of proved to everyone that if you turn off the critic, you turn off that internal witch who is yelling at you that that's not the right word, that sentence looks clunky. Why are you even putting this down? If you can turn her off,
Hmm.
you can get a lot done.
Yeah. Do you find that like that ends up being a lot of content that you then like discard, or does it actually end up being like, usable and workable material?
Oh, it was very usable and workable material. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to spend that much time on something that I have to throw out. That's what the planning's for, right? You know what you have to accomplish in the scene. I wrote a subplot is what I did.
Oh,
I had a
nice.
whole subplot that I needed to write in, and I knew it would be about 20,000 words, and I got
Hmm.
10,000 of it done in that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you are writing, do you tend to sort of, because I know that you break up like a lot of different, you tend to, at least in the books I read, have multiple perspectives and timelines.
Mhm.
Do you write those in chunks where it's like, okay, you kind of like write it where it's one seamless like mini arc and then you kind of jigsaw puzzle it together, or do you write like in order, like of the book?
It depends. It depends. Some books are very easy to write linearly.
Mm-hmm.
Some books I have to write the chunks. I have to write everything from this character, everything from this character, everything from this character, and then start braiding them together. It just
Mm.
really depends on what kind of story I'm trying to tell.
Yeah, and just the book kind of tells you. Is that the same with, because one of the things I actually really like, and you did it in this book, you've done it in other books, but this one in particular, I really enjoyed um, how you played with the POVs. So some were third person, some were first person,
Yeah,
timelines were different. Like how like kind of how did that come about? And like how do you decide, who needs to
right.
talk and what voice they need to talk in and
That's a good question because it's just kind of instinct. It's just what works right for the story. So like the one that I just finished, I'm gonna have to go and look and see if I need to change a third person to first person, if it has more
Mm.
impact that way. Usually when I'm starting out, I'll write the scene in first and third just to see what feels better.
Hmm.
And sometimes I go back and change my mind, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes, I get into, oh, hey, I need another point of view, but I don't want it to be first. And oh, it's in the past. So I'm going to do third person past tense in this story. And then the current day, it's going to be first person present tense. And, it just really depends on what what the story needs, right? And it's totally instinctual with a bunch of tests. What would it sound like this way? What does it sound like that way? And sometimes I'll send it to my friends and be like, which one feels more natural? Here's what the character is. Here's what they're doing. Which one feels more natural? Um, it just depends. It just really depends.
Yeah, I like that there's a lot of like testing because I think like there's like a tendency, particularly when you're a newer writer, to worry about getting it right,
Mhm.
like first. And it kind of can feel daunting where it's like, you write, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000 words, and then you're like, what if it would be better in first person? And then you think, no, I shouldn't change it. And
No, I mean, change it and see what works. I mean, I've had entire books that I've had to go back and change the point of view at the last minute.
oh,
Good
wow.
Girls Lie. Good Girls Lie. It was in third person, and I had to go back and change it to first person. I had to change Her Dark Lies into first person. I don't normally write in first person. The police procedural is all in third person, um, past tense, third past. And
Yeah.
then thriller, when I start doing the standalones, I'm getting more and more first person. And then it's like, but you're so limited by first person. You're
Yeah,
so
sometimes.
limited.
Yeah.
But the only rules are those you make up for your book.
Yeah. Yeah, I do tend to I think I tend towards first person, but I have learned as, kind of going on and playing with different storylines that, sometimes you need a third person.
Yeah, sometimes you need a different perspective, and that's totally fine. As long as it feels organic to the story and organic to the character, nobody's gonna. I mean, some people are like, I hate first person, I hate third person, I hate when there's first and third, I hate present. There's always somebody,
Yeah.
there's always going to be somebody that is going to be disappointed because it's not the way they want it. And to them, I say, write your own or back off.
Right. Yeah, or, find the authors that
Find the thing that
do what
suits
you
you.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also a good reminder. Well, and I think, another thing, curious minds are dying to know, which is me. Me, I'm the curious mind. You know, having such a massive career and coming up with these new ideas and, kind of how do you, what's the trick to staying fresh? And then what do you do when you get stuck?
I get stuck all the time. I mean, everybody does. Everybody gets stuck. And it's just your story saying I'm going in the wrong direction, right? So if I'm stuck, I have to sit back and kind of look at it and say, all right, here's something that's not jiving. I need to go and explore why that doesn't feel right. Um, as far as keeping it fresh, I mean, again, points of view, different kinds of characters, different settings. Some are police procedurals, some are uh, standalones, some are fantasy. They're all just stories. They're all just characters, and they all just, are there for the taking if you want them badly
Yeah, just
enough. And I
pass
want them. I just have I have so many stories, and sometimes I have to create. I want to write about this. I haven't written about it yet, but there are three different types of story. One, you have a setting, and then you have to create the plot and the characters.
hmm
One, you have the characters, and you have to create the setting and the plot. One, you have the plot, and you have to create the setting and the characters. So it's sometimes deciding which book it is before you start, so
hmm
okay, this is a plot heavy book, so I have to be really careful to create a character that's going to stand up to the plot. Same with setting. I
Mm.
don't want the setting to overshadow the plot and the characters. So you have to find, here's the kind of story you're telling, but then you have to find the balance that makes all three of them work.
Oh, that's really interesting. I don't think I ever looked at that way. That's actually really interesting. I usually start with like sort of a scene, and sometimes it's an opening scene, but like usually like I will just get like this visualization of like a single scene. And then I try to create something around that,
Sure.
which is, not always easy.
No, no, it's not. I mean, it just depends on the kind of story you're trying to tell.
Yeah. And
I
how
wish I mean, the characters coming first is really good for knowing that somebody's going to connect with the story.
Hmm.
But that's, why I had the characters and I had the plot. That's not true. I had the plot and then I had to create the characters. I lied. I just
Oh.
lied. I lied to you, Jenna. I'm sorry.
On live public television. Just kidding. Do you tend to like notice that like one comes to you first? Like, do you get, like characters come more, or is it just really an array and like it just kind of depends
It
on?
just depends. It just depends. And I try to be open to it. One of the best bits of advice I ever got was don't try to steer the river.
Ah, yes.
So I don't try to steer the river. I let the river bring me what it's supposed to bring me, and then off we go.
Yeah, and then so if a character comes first and then you just kind of create the plot around it and try
Hmm.
to. That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
think about that and kind of think about how I approach things. I don't think I've ever really thought about it like that before. Always fascinating. Um, I did notice, I think I don't know how new this is or if I just didn't see it before, but with your press, the Two
Two
Tails
tails.
Press, yeah,
Yeah,
Two
two
Tails
tails
Press,
press.
that you have a lot of short stories on there now and some novels and novellas. Like
Yeah.
yeah, how did
Well,
that
that's what
come
I
about?
started. That's how I started it. I started it to do my short stories because nobody wanted short stories. I mean, they might be in a magazine or they might get anthologized, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then they're just sitting there and nobody was doing the digital of the short stories. So I
Hmm.
started putting up the short stories for sale for, it's 99 cents and off you go. And then I would write a couple of short stories for it. And then
Hmm.
people wanted me to write them short stories. So that worked out great. And then when the reversion happens on those, usually they hold the rights for a couple of years, then
Yeah.
I'll go and put them up.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. And then you just kind of branched out from there. Because I think now you have your fantasy novels.
Yeah, the completed fantasy series. I know everybody's looking for a completed series. It is a complete series, 6 books, Jane Thorne, CIA librarian. We start in a world where there is no magic, and we end in a world where everybody is magical. It's so much fun. It's so much
Amazing.
fun. I love
Yeah.
that book. I love that series.
I think I read the first one. I haven't, speaking of time, but
Time. I know.
yeah, but I do love that CIA librarian. And then and now you have, are they older books or are you writing books for the press, the thrillers, or is it just the short stories and
No, I'm back to traditional. I'm back to traditional now. I got the rights back to my Taylor Jackson series and sold them in a
oh,
nine
nice.
book. I sold all 9 books of that. And that's all coming out. The first 4 have come out, and the next 5 start coming out in January.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, I'm super excited about that. It's nice to have them all in one format and
Hmm.
all, the same size, branded, really gorgeous
Size
covers. It's nice
matters.
getting a chance to do a tiny bit of editing on them, just cleaning up some stuff and everything. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that is because that was your debut, right? That was your
Yeah,
debut.
all the pretty girls. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Just
very
came out
cool.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
must
get to
be.
debut again, 20 years later. I debuted again.
See, who says you can't debut
Who
twice?
says you can't debut later in life? Here I am.
Yeah. Well, like let's shift right into you know why. You know what you did. You know why you did it.
Yeah.
Told you before this book is diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. Where did the idea come from?
So it's 2 ideas that got married into one book. The
Fun.
first was this whole concept of somebody walking away at the airport. And that I've been holding on to for years and years and years and years. I always am looking at people going, I bet that person is not happy, and I bet they're going to walk out. What would they do? They're here. They're having a thing. They're connecting. They're stressed. What's going on?
Mhm.
They go to get a drink, and then they never come back. They've walked out.
Yeah.
So that is one half of it. The other half of it, when my husband and I were doing fertility treatments, and I was just this massive rage monster. I was on a flight, and the couple in front of me, just drop dead gorgeous woman, real nice, nicely dressed. He was super handsome. and they had two kids, and they were having this huge fight. And I was just like, you people are jerks, right? What, look at what you have. What
Mhm.
you have. You are clearly well off. You are on a wonderful trip. You've got all these adorable children, and you're bickering about some stupid thing that happened at the hotel. And it was like sunscreen or something really dumb. And they're having this big old fight. And I just wanted to tap her on the shoulder and be like, do you realize what you have? What are
Yeah.
you doing? You know? And so I stowed that one away too. And then it turns into this book, which is a dual narrative. We have one side, Brooklyn, who is a young mother who her husband comes and says, I'm surprising you. I'm taking you and the kids to Italy for Christmas, and we're leaving tomorrow. And she has to put everything together and get them all set and get out the door. And they are at their connecting flight in Atlanta, and her husband disappears. That's the first story. The second story, the second narrative is Eden, who is flying home from a business trip and sees on the plane a couple arguing and realizes that the man is the man who murdered her sister 10
Dun,
years
dun,
earlier and
dun.
got away with it. Dun, dun, dun. Yep,
Vanished into the night, as it
yep,
were.
yep. So then they have to work together to try to figure out, A, has he gone, and B, why does Brooklyn not know anything about him?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really fun premise, and there's a lot of really interesting twists and turns that happen along the way that we won't go into because spoilers.
Yeah, it is definitely a little twisty.
A little lady. Diabolical. Um, One of the things that I really liked about this book in particular, and I know that you dabble with a little bit of like kind of the darker side, just thrillers tend that way anyway, psychological
Sure,
especially. But
sure.
this one, I don't know, and I don't want to go too much just to avoid spoilers, but there were a lot of layers of manipulation, I think, that happened in this one that were like sort of big and small. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was kind of curious how, as a writer, you sort of like go in and grapple with like these psychological elements that you know, that readers then feel like on a deep gut level on like these unsettling things.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the trick of suspense, right?
Yeah.
It's you're reading it and you feel like, huh, that's weird. Why did that happen? Huh,
Yeah.
her credit cards have been turned off. Why did that happen? Huh, there's this chick who's talking to her and wants to help her, and she knows her husband, or says she does, and that's a little bit weird. Versus knowing that there's a hurricane offshore getting ready to come on,
Hmm.
that it's there lurking, about to come and take you out, right? So it's the roll with it. You roll with these little hints and clues and that's bizarres to get to the hurricane coming ashore.
Yeah, I really liked how, one of the most unsettling things I think is sort of the realization that like, you know, any of us could sort of, be vulnerable in like a multitude of ways that you just like
Mhm.
never see coming, right? So,
No, no, you don't. I mean, yeah, that's the whole idea, right? Is the vulnerability. And a lot of it is you're not safe in your own house. You're not safe in your own bed. You're not safe with the person that you love.
yeah,
That they've been telling tall tales. They've been, lying about something about their past, or they're lying about something now, or, you're catching them going, wait a second, what is going on? That can happen anytime. And I think that's where these books land so well with people, is because all of a sudden you're like, huh, I hadn't thought about that. That could happen. oh no.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an anxious person, suspense is not the kind of book you need to be reading, right?
No, probably not. And some, some are easier to kind of, walk away from mentally than others, because you think like, oh, I would never be in that situation. But I guess what makes this one so diabolical is that like there are multiple aspects of the story where I think almost everyone could be like, oh my, like,
Well, you want
it could
everyone to
happen
be
to
innocent and
you.
everyone to be guilty all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has to be guilty of something, and
Right.
everybody needs to be innocent of something,
Hmm.
right? And, when you just don't know who's telling the truth and who's not, and you're being given dribs and drabs of the tale, and you have to put it all together for yourself. This is where first person and third person and all of that comes really in handy because you
Hmm.
can give the reader what information you want them to have at that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You want them to know more than the character, which in this case, yes, the reader knows more about what's
Yes.
going on than the characters do.
Do
And
we,
that's
JT?
that's super, well, do you? Do you really? You're being led down a path. And that's the other thing about a suspense novel. You're being led down a path,
Yeah.
right? And you have to buy into it. You can't trick the reader, right? You can't just it can't come out of left field.
Yeah.
The breadcrumbs have to have been there. It's fine if you missed the trail and you're off in the woods and it comes out of left field and you're like, wait, wait, I missed something. And
Right.
then you
Yeah.
go back and you realize, oh, I totally missed that. It's right there, right in front of me. Versus something that just, is a trick. And I don't like
Yeah.
tricks. I don't like tricks. I like misleading you, but I don't like tricking you.
Boy, do you.
Hmm.
I think that's where it comes out surprising but inevitable. Like I feel like,
Yes,
that helps where
exactly.
you don't necessarily have to have gotten all the clues along the way, but when they feel like when it hits and you're like, oh.
Yeah, duh. I should have seen that coming. Yeah, that's really fun. That's the fun stuff for me.
Yeah.
Is trying
One
to
of
come up with that thing that you're going to be like, wait, what? I didn't see
Yeah.
that coming.
Yeah, and I do think too it was I liked, not that there's a question in this, but I did like how you had to the use of different perspectives in this one just almost as a necessity, and yeah, it was good. Everyone who likes just really tricky books, you should read this one because it's really good. Um the other thing, and this isn't about, I guess, the book, but it is. In your acknowledgments, you had a bunch of thank yous in there for
I
people who
did.
had auctioned off their names, as it were, for
Yes.
different characters for different events. I want to talk more about that. How did that come up? What was that process like?
So the big one was at BoucherCon in Nashville. They had I gave a character name to the auction, and the I was absolutely, I thought I'd go for like $100 or something, and it was getting into the thousands, and I was like, holy cow. So the person who won was outbid, they were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and she won it. And so her name is Teresa Lee. And, I was like, if
Yeah.
you're going to pay that much money, I am going to make you a character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the folks who were bidding against her. And I said, if you're willing to pay that money for charity,
Mm-hmm.
I'll put you in the book as well, both of you.
Nice.
And so we doubled our money for the charity, which was
Uh-huh.
great. And they got to go in the book as well. So Teresa Lee and Bob and Pat Gusson are characters in the books. They got to choose their storyline a little
Mhm.
bit, not totally, but just kind of the nature of their characters, which was very fun for me. And then the other was Margot Thompson is her name. I screwed up because I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. There's a big mistake in this book that I found out about this morning, and it's a huge
Oh
mistake. And I'm
no.
like, It's too late to change. It's too late to fix. It's too big of a change to fix.
Hmm.
Um, and we make mistakes, right? We try our best, but I made a big boo-boo. But one of the other boo-boos was I, for some reason, got Margot Thomas as the name. And I think it was Thompson at one point, and I was like, oh, it sounds better as Thomas, and I changed it. And I'm like, oh my God, what an idiot am I? So actually, I wrote her and I said, so I screwed up. It was for her granddaughter. And I said, I screwed up. Her name is Margot Thomas. I said, Margot is the more important name. She was like, oh, obviously. I said, maybe she'll marry a Thomas and become a Margot Thomas. I said, work on that as she's growing up. If you meet any boys with the last name Thomas, push them her way. Um, but to be fair, why don't you give me another name? And so she gave me her husband's name, and it's in the next book. So, I try to be fair. If I screw up,
Yeah.
I totally messed that one up. But that's what happens when you write a bunch of books and you've got a lot of side quests. You mess things up.
Yeah. Wait, that is such a fun idea. I mean, I know that I've seen different, p authors. I mean, names are hard, particularly when you have to come up with a bunch of them. So I thought that was like a really fun thing. And then,
Yeah.
did they get to like, were they part of the process outside of the beginning? Like, did you give them,
No,
behind the scenes or anything? No, it was just a
no.
surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise. It's like, do you want to be good? Do you want to be bad? Can I use your autobiographical details? What can I make her look like you? That kind of stuff. But no, they don't get a say. They sign a release. They actually have to sign a release that says they're not going to
Oh,
sue me
right.
for
Yes.
putting their, yeah,
Well, that is important.
it
We
is
don't want
important.
anyone suing JT for
No, please don't sue me.
villainy.
I would never make somebody like look bad or anything like that,
Fictional
unless they
villainy.
wanted to be, unless they wanted
Right.
to look bad, right? I'm very respectful of this. Like I had a
Yeah.
bunch of people, Her Dark Lies. I did a contest who wants to die in my book, and we had so many entries that I ended up picking like five people, and they all die in the book.
Oh,
Everybody dies in the book.
that's great. I would definitely sign up for that. That would be fun. You ever need
It was pretty cool.
a villain or a death? I'll volunteer as tribute.
Somebody said that. So somebody volunteered as tribute, and I'm like, yes, you're in.
Right.
Someone said I am prepared to die. And I'm like, and you're in.
Right. That's
They
fantastic.
started doing stuff like that. And I'm like, yep. So, I had a couple of people who won and then a couple of people who were being clever. And I was like, well, fine, I'll kill you too. Happy to illuminate you on the page. More than happy to do
Fine, I'll kill you too. God, you're gonna make me. Well, time has flown by. I actually just did a
Oh, wow.
double take at the clock. As always, we like to close out the show, and I know that you've given a ton of advice in throughout this conversation, other conversations, but let's hear some more new advice for new or aspiring writers.
Um, don't judge yourself.
Mm,
Because this is a hard life, and it's a hard world, and we're in a very weird simulation of a world right now, and everybody's distracted and everybody's upset and everybody's on edge, and it's really easy to take that out on your work. I mean,
mhm.
told somebody this morning, I'm really disappointed in myself in the way that this book that I just finished turned out, and I'm going to have to do a lot of work to get it to where I want it to be. And so I'm taking my own advice. I need to not judge it. It's a draft and it needs some work. Okay. That doesn't need judgment. That just needs a little bit of time and effort.
Right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on our show again.
Of course, it was great to see you.
Yeah, and I think your book comes out when we publish, so everyone go grab a twisty, dark psychological thriller.
You know why. And now you do know why.
I do know why. She's always a good time to talk to.
Yeah.
Um, I actually really liked how she talked about panic being her inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, and how she, but really it's about like trying to just stay, engaged and like interested. So, how do you keep challenging yourself? Like she did a 10K in a day challenge. We know Kevin did that,
That's
but
insane.
And she did it with
10K,
friends
how
too.
quaint.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, like my biggest day was like around 6,000 words, and like I was completely just burnt at the end of that. So like, and most of that stuff was garbage. Like only about half of it was any good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine what comes out of a 10,000 word day or 20 or Kevin wrote a whole book. I'm sure you had a lot of editing after the fact, but
A lot of editing. But you know what
that's-
happens though? You do kind of get to that point where there's a sort of moment where everything sucks, and then suddenly it's like the drugs kicked in, and
That
now
flow.
yeah, it's and then it's like weird art though. It's like
Yeah.
it's like those guys who get on ayahuasca and then paint. Suddenly you're just you're
well,
just
there's a
spewing
reason.
art onto the page.
There's a reason they compare these to marathon sprints and stuff, because that's kind of what when you run a long distance run like that, that's what it feels like. Like it hurts at the very beginning, then all of a sudden you hit this stride where you can just kind of keep going, and it's almost like your body just gives up on telling you that you shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I kind of
What's that
think
called? A runner's high.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it
Yeah,
probably
same
ties in a
thing.
little bit with like how, last week Alexandra Bracken was talking about kind of letting like your id out, like just kind of letting it. And I do think there's probably like, that's why writing advice is always like, right, just sit in the chair for like 30 minutes or just like make yourself like type, even if they're bad sentences. Because I do think like what you
Yeah.
said, Kevin, is true. Like if you just like let yourself get through all the icky, bad C spot run sentences, like eventually it's like your conscious brain will sort of like check out and like your subconscious will come bubbling up. And then, I mean, who knows what it's going to look like, but at least it
Yeah.
might be interesting.
So are we going to do a live stream then? 10,000 word day for all of us for Writers Inc.
Oh,
Do
wow.
it on JP's Twitch channel.
That's quite, it's quite a commitment.
Yeah, I'm gonna bow out of that now.
Oh, we're gonna have
I don't think
fun.
I want any part of
I
that.
feel like I am not as young as I used to be, and I think I would need a massage and a chiropractor after
Yeah, well,
that
that's
day.
what she said. Yeah, she said like, yeah, you get you're sore and your wrist hurts and your legs hurt and you need to go sit in a hot tub for a while.
I would need Mickey from Rocky, that little old guy, just yelling at me from across the desk the whole time.
Get in there, JD.
One
You
more
got
sentence.
this. He's a punk. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the days of me doing stuff like that are past. I don't think I could. I could do a 10,000 word day. That one's not such a big deal. But
I do
like,
like the idea though of challenging yourself, like kind of like,
yeah,
and how she talked about side quests, like kind of viewing, all the things that she has to do as side quests, kind of keep her,
yeah,
engaged. But Christine and I were talking before, and we're like, our lives just aren't that interesting to like chronicle on Substack and social media. So, like, I guess, how do you guys, you put out a lot of content. How do you keep it fresh without like just, being like, hey, buy my book. Hey, this is my book. Hey, buy my book.
yeah.
I write about topics. Like I just wrote one this morning for Fast Company, which is a news service that's out there, and I tied it more from the business standpoint of like if you own a business and you find out that somebody that's working for you has a side hustle going on, like your first inclination is to get freaked out because now they're doing something away from you and possibly taking time away from your business and stuff like that. But honestly, if you take a step back, the people that are doing that, the ones who are have the energy to
Yeah.
create a side hustle, the thought like able to juggle a couple different things, those are really the employees that you want.
Yeah.
So I just, it has really very little to do with writing, but I just, I kick out a lot of articles like that from the business side.
Yeah. I keep a weekly Substack going alongside the rest of my stuff, and it's not really topical. It's just sort of whatever I'm inspired to write that day. It's not about selling my books, although I always include a CTA to buy my books or whatever it is I need them to do. But what I found is that by doing that, people find it to be much more authentic, and they become fans, and sometimes some of them become super fans, and like they share the posts, and so I'm actually, it's a weird thing to watch that audience grow, alongside other things that I'm doing, knowing that it's all this like flywheel kind of business where the Substack feeds people to the books and the books feed people to to YouTube. YouTube feeds everybody back to Substack. It's a nice little circular engine that helps me kind of keep going. So
So,
I
like
keep
kind
it
of,
fresh by not trying to write about the stuff I write about all the time.
yeah. Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier about sort of creating an author as a brand,
Yeah,
how do you keep that in mind? Or do you just think that your brand is you and whatever comes
right.
into your
That is,
brain?
yeah, that's me. My brand is me. I don't. There's no. What you see is what you get with Kevin. Yeah, I'm exactly as goofy in the world as I am on this show,
Can
and so I
confirm.
just, yeah, I write what's in my heart basically, and at first I tried to keep it topical to things that were related to my books. Like I wrote a lot about archaeology and science, and I'll still do posts like that, but the ones that get the most engagement from me are when I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting here in front of a window and I'm looking out at all this green and I'm kind of missing Texas and I just kind of just I don't know a brain dump and people love it and I'll get thousands of people sharing it and commenting, hundreds of people commenting, but thousands of people sharing.
I
Interesting.
treat it like a brand. So I do a lot of
Yeah,
press releases. So if I'm doing an appearance somewhere, I'll typically put out a press release for that. If something happens, like a TV show gets picked up, press release for that. And what I find is a lot of the times the news media, like this goes out to the entertainment news media. I think it's 2,300 news channels that get that release. If a handful of them pick it up, all of a sudden they're out there, on their TV networks or radio networks talking about this thing that they wouldn't have known about before. And most authors don't do that. So I think by doing
yeah,
it, it causes me to stand out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever, that blend between, Kevin, you're doing brain dumps, but, where personal becomes too personal? Like, obviously we all have a line, right, with social media,
I don't
like what
understand
you
the
don't.
question.
I don't go personal at all. I mean, I read Kevin's stuff, and you definitely do. I mean, you talk about everything that's going on.
Yeah. I like to think of it as being personable rather than personal because there's a great deal I don't share, but I do let people see a little behind the curtain. And for me, it's about making it relatable. I want them to think of me as someone they know so that when I say, I could really use your help, so, promoting this new book launch, they feel like they should do it because we're friends, and they do
Mm.
it. I get a lot of loyalty out of that. I haven't seen a downside to it so far. I know I've talked to a lot of people who are like, I keep everybody at a distance. I don't want them knowing my personal business. They only know what I share. There's a lot more that would be a lot more damaging to me if it got out, but
Ooh, like what?
I don't share anything like that. Well,
Let
so
other
there's
people write
this.
about that.
Yeah, that'll be in my biography someday.
I see. Yeah, I guess there's just a worry out there, like that if you share too much or even if you hit a certain amount of success that, there's a lot of
Yeah,
parasocial relationships out there that can get quite toxic quite fast.
I think that's true. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
something
can
to be cautious
chronicle my
about.
day and how many times I let my cat in and out of my house. Because that's
Yeah.
really my whole life. I read, I let my cat outside. I
Well,
I
read,
see, you
let
could
my
do a
cat
whole
back
thing
inside.
where
Yeah,
you're
just, yeah.
writing about your day. I'm okay, so I'm on the couch, I'm working, and oh, I got to take the cat out, and then later it's like, oh, got to let the cat back in, and you could make that really funny,
She's
and it
far
would
more
be
interesting
very
than I am for
engaging.
sure.
Our brains work totally different. Like in my head, I'm trying to solve the problem. Like our dog has an automatic dog door. He can go in and out whenever he wants. Like that.
Yeah.
That's what you really need. And all of a sudden, you get 20 minutes of your life back.
That's
I
That, you
would
know, that
content
think
right
is.
there.
I'm
you
just
should just
afraid that,
let your
she's going to
cat
bring
take
in things
over
with her that I don't
your
want
Yeah,
in the
social
house.
media.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
cats tend to do that. We've got a poodle, and like poodles don't tend to like he
Yeah.
chases stuff outside, but he doesn't catch it.
Yeah. She
We had a
catches them
Siberian
and she
Husky
drops
that
them at
like
the back door. So that's
yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's their way of saying thank you to you, apparently. Like,
It is. And I'm like, oh, you're such a good girl. But I'm like, ah,
Such a little murderer.
she's a serial
Anyway.
killer. And I love her.
Well, as we're sitting here brainstorming how Christine can incorporate her cat in her social media and Substack,
Yeah.
what about when you get stuck? Do you get stuck? And what do you do to get unstuck?
I've talked about this before. Like, I tend to bounce heads in the books. Like, I do, each chapter is a different point of view. So if I get stuck on one, I'll just move on and write somebody else's point of view for a little while and think out the problem and go back to it. Or I'll just jump on a different book. I've got so many different books going on right now. I can put one aside for a week or two and work on something else and come back to it. But usually if I take the spotlight off whatever the problem is, my brain kind of solves it in the background, rather than staring at it and pulling my hair out.
I use a process I call looping, where if I get stuck somewhere, I'll loop back to earlier in the book, maybe even all the way to the beginning, and read and rewrite until I get to the stopping point, and then I've got the momentum to keep going. But there's other ways. I mean, I was having a conversation with someone just a couple of days ago, and we were talking about, he wrote a short story and he got to a point where he didn't know how to finish it. So he just wrote, and the spaceship exploded, the end. And it was kind of meant to be like, oh, look how terrible that is. And I said, I actually use that method a lot. If I get stuck, I do something dramatic like that. And then it's, well, I'm only on page 40 of the book, so I've still got a lot to write. So what really happened there? Did the spaceship actually explode? What was the reason behind it? And, you can do that and it'll help you break past the stop point. You can always take it out, but don't underestimate the power of, shoving a unicorn into your work or
And then
suddenly
aliens came.
right. Just put some random thing there and then let your brain dance with it. And that'll help get you unstuck pretty quick.
I mean, King used an explosion just because he had the opposite problem when he was writing The Stand. The story was getting so complicated. He had so many characters running around. He threw a bomb at the equation and eliminated 90% of the characters. Reset the playing board.
That's one way to do it. Have you ever had to rewrite a book,
Yes.
the POV, where it's like you're going through and you decide 75% of the way through, oh, this needs to be third person or this needs to be first person.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've never gotten that far before.
Not that
well,
far.
I guess maybe with Dracul we kind of did, because there's present and past scenes or tense scenes, and we weren't sure how to do those, whether we wanted them in first person or second person or third person or whatever. So I ended up rewriting all of those and just sending each one to the editor, and then I let him pick which one we went with.
Oh wow, interesting.
I mean, it's fast to I can do it in my head. I can read somebody else's book, and as I'm reading it, I can change the tense or change the point of view from first person to third person. All the words are flying through my head, but it's a very odd skill.
I can make everything second person. Does that count?
Nobody likes second person though.
You would say that.
I actually like second person. I think I don't know. I think that it can be weird, but when it's done right, I really do enjoy a second person narrative.
Here is my hot take. I don't like it when the author's you is me. When it's you are 5 feet tall and work this job and use the shampoo. I'm like, no, I don't. But I like second person when they're talking to another character in the book.
Yeah, so Carolyn Kempness, right? And
like
the,
that.
The U series.
I like that a lot. I don't like that when they're talking to me as the reader, which is weird. I know.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of the distinction now that you say that. I
just have a harder time buying in when they're like, you are 5 feet
so
tall
weird.
and
I
work
have
security. I'm like, I don't. No, I don't.
Well, see,
I've never had a problem with that. That's so
if
weird.
you break it down to the actual definition, I'm guessing when you're talking to the reader, that's traditional second person. So what Carolyn is doing is fantastic, but she's sort of doing third person, but doing it in a second person voice.
Yeah, it's second person, but talking to a character in the book. So it's,
That's interesting.
yeah,
I mean, she does a fantastic job with it. I've never come across it anywhere else where it's as good, but that's what it is.
Yeah, cool. All right. I guess with that, JD, who's up next week?
Next week, we've got Lisa Gardner coming back. Lisa's the #1 New York Times bestselling author of numerous novels. She's here to tell us about her latest. It's a standalone thriller called You'll Be Sorry. It's about a newlywed couple, an abandoned lodge, and a decades-old mystery. Lisa's always a wealth of information, so nobody wants to miss this one. Lisa Gardner.
Yeah, it's going to be great. If you'd like to be notified as soon as new episodes publish, make sure you go to writersincpodcast.com and sign up now. We'll see you next episode and have a great week of writing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Writers Inc. Access the show notes and leave a comment at writersincpodcast.com.